Hello, SpongeGex here with more footage from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Custom Stages. And here's one I found called Kirby, Eater of Worlds. So this is a pretty challenging stage and one that requires a lot of attention and response. If you're Peach or Daisy, I would not recommend trying out the stage because, as you can see, the CPU of Daisy will keep dying. Oh, that was quick. Okay. I'm not gonna spoil what this is right away until the camera zooms out, but I'll just say the name of this stage. It's called Dat Peach. Oh god. Peach must be feeling a chill. Oh no! Oh god! Oh man. I'll admit that was kind of disappointing. When I first saw like Ditto transform into Ice Climbers, I thought he was going to actually turn into 2 Ice Climbers, but he just turned into 1. I can kind of understand though, but it still feels kind of like a cop-out. I can only see that working like if you're down just Popo, like if he's the only one left and you get Ditto there. That's, I can kind of understand that, but I'm not sure if I've seen a Ditto come out like when someone. Well, I'm not sure if I've ever seen like Rosalina and Luma summon Ditto. So how does that work? Is there like a Ditto of Luma as well, or just Rosalina? Same thing with Olimar, like with the Pikmin and all that. Like, does Ditto turn to the? Are there like Ditto Pikmin? Ooh, that was epic. It always feels so satisfying to have Falcon Punch actually work, because it seems like most of the time it's a move that opponents will just either avoid or counter off of you, and so it's so successful when you actually nail it. So this is a pretty fun stage I found, based off Sonic Mania. Might as well just mention it now, because, you know, lately I've been making movie reviews, but, there's a movie I saw recently that was so good, but I just really don't see any point in making a review of it, because pretty much everyone's already said what needs to be said about it, and it's really hard to talk about the movie without spoiling it, but I saw Avengers Endgame recently. I saw it the first night it aired, and that was really good. I really enjoyed it. So I just thought I'd let my viewers know that You know, I'm not planning on making a review of it, but just know I really love the film. I loved it so much that there's really nothing else to say about it that hasn't already been said. I heard it's rumored that later tonight we're going to be getting the first trailer of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Fingers crossed that it doesn't suck. So far they have a leaked image of Jim Carrey as Dr. Eggman. Possibly like what he looked like before he became a mad doctor. Because like we see he has hair and all that, but who knows. But so this stage cracked me up. This is probably the first stage I found that actually made me laugh. So it's just called Wario's Butt. I wasn't expecting it to be an animated stage, but oh my god. I just downloaded this one for laughs to see how ridiculous it is, and man, it's more ridiculous than I imagined. Have the song Calling to the Night playing in the background, it's like a... Might as well rename this Booty Calling to the Night. I just find it so funny when people put unfitting music into their custom stages just to make it even more ridiculous. I'm just glad Wario's still wearing his overalls, nothing more revealing. Lucky hit. Darn, I should have knocked him out. That especially should have knocked him out. It's not more infuriating when you make such an epic hit and it does not knock him out. That's always so disappointing. And some of the last words spoken in that were behind. How fitting. Here's a stage based off of Wailord, the biggest Pokemon ever. Hard to believe they called him Wailord and not Wailord. No, I love Wailord. I remember when I was first introduced to that Pokemon, I thought it was amazing how gigantic he was. Especially, like, I remember the first game that really demonstrated how big he was probably Pokemon Coliseum, because I remember like the Game Boy Advance games, you couldn't really tell how big he really was because, you know, limited size restraints, but then I remember playing Pokemon Coliseum and you saw like how big he was like when standing next to a Pikachu, and it's like, holy cow, he is huge. And even the DS games, the 3DS games took it further. Well, yeah, actually, no, the DS games did too, even, although, because I remember the sprites took up a huge chunk of the screen that people even made parody images showing, like, what it would look like in a triple battle of nothing but Wailords. Oh, that was funny. I just always laugh whenever, like, some kind of Pokemon parody or skit makes fun of how big he is, like, showing, like, what it would look like for a Pokemon trainer to summon their Wailord when inside a Pokemon Center, and then it cuts to a shot of the Pokemon just bursting out of the building. I remember even, there's, like, that funny animated short from Terminal Montage called Pokemon Battle Royale, and the part where Wailord came out was pretty funny. It's just funny, like, how some Pokemon games manage to top, like, what we thought we already knew. I remember, like, how back then, people assumed like Dragonite or Snorlax were the biggest Pokemon ever, and then all of a sudden it's like Gen 3 comes around and it's like, without a doubt, this is the biggest Pokemon ever, and to this day, nothing has beat it. It's like the, I kind of like that dedication though. It's like they're already aware. They made a Pokemon where in the description it flat out says it's the biggest Pokemon in the world. So I like how they kept that consistency. They could have easily made another Pokemon and, you know, gave it the bullcrap excuse that this is the biggest Pokemon ever. So if anything, Pokemon like Snorlax or Dragonite, they were never given the description as being the biggest Pokemon ever. I mean, I remember the anime kind of misled people into thinking Dragonite was gigantic because of the episode that introduced Bill, but other than that though, like Pokedex entries, if anything, they would describe them as like large Pokemon, but never the largest. We always assumed they were the largest because there's no other Pokemon that matched their size in the games. So here's a stage based off Nintendo Switch. I thought it was pretty creative, especially how the Joy-Cons move up and down. Here we have a Nintendo accessory fighting on top of Nintendo accessories. And no, I'm not talking about Mario, I'm talking about Rob. Kind of strange how he's a playable character if you think about it. He's not really a character, he's actually a controller peripheral. He was an accessory for the NES, so it's like turning the Wii remote into a playable character. That's how strange it is to have Rob playable. Like, I don't hate Rob, I just found him very unnecessary. I personally would have taken any other character. There's so many characters who could have been more fitting for Smash Bros. Instead, we got a plastic controller. You know, it's just so weird. Here's a funny stage. It's just Kirby holding a knife. So random, but so funny. Aside from Corrin, here's like one of the only unique Fire Emblem characters in the game, one who doesn't feel like an altered clone of some form. I don't hate Fire Emblem, I'm just so sick of all the Fire Emblem characters, because, you know, I liked how in Melee and even Brawl, I liked how the Fire Emblem characters felt special, because there were only a few of them. They were the only characters who just, like, fought with, you know, sword and counterattacks, but then it's like you compare them to characters like Link, where they can do more than just slash with a sword, and it just makes the Fire Emblem characters feel kind of bland in comparison. And heck, we got so many of these Fire Emblem characters that it made Cloud's announcement underwhelming, and that should have been exciting. When I first saw that Cloud was going to be playable in Smash Bros., I was actually excited, but then a few seconds later I realized, wait, he's just another sword user. Don't we already have more than enough of those? Dang it. I mean, it's real, you know, there's just so many other characters I'd rather see in this game that would have more unique movesets. I mean, I am glad, though, that at least one of the characters I really wanted finally made it in. That was King K. Rool. Although I never really needed Ridley to be in this game, I'm glad he's in it, though, because, I mean, he definitely deserved it after all the demand that people have been wanting for him, and I think they did a really good job, not only with his design, but even his moveset. A little too well, though, because he is very overpowered, but I still really wanted to see characters like Paper Mario, Crystal, Rayman, Banjo-Kazooie, and there's just so many other characters that I felt would have been more deserving than just a bunch of clone characters like Dark Pit, Lucina, Dr. Mario, Pichu. So, I don't know. I was one of the few who did not want everyone to return. I would have rather, you know, they kept like the most important ones, and then, I mean, I'm not against every clone character being out of it. I mean, you know, Luigi had to stay, because it just would have felt wrong to get rid of him. But. So here's Curly Hill from The Nightmare Before Christmas. I actually made a stage like this back in the Wii U version, you know, back when we had very limited colors and stuff like that to work with, and So I can definitely say this one looks a lot better. I did not make this one though, someone else made it. But it's very similar to the stage I made. But it's funny how a lot of people have like a very similar mindset when it comes to making stage. Like for instance, I made a Spiral Mountain stage, and I noticed a lot of people made the same thing, and it's almost like the same layout, and it's just the mountain and a bridge that leads to the witch's lair's mouth, and so it's so strange how so many people have that same idea. It's like they want to make Spiral Mountain, and they have like the exact same layout. But it's funny though to see like how differently some people made them. Some people made them better, some made them worse. Like I feel like I'm one of the few who made like it in the worst category, but you know, it's like I tried, but I ran into limitations, so I couldn't make it as good as I wanted to look, unfortunately. I really want them to patch Ness a bit, because I think his PK fire is really broken. I don't remember his flame lingering as long as it does in this game compared to past entries. I really do think they need to shorten it, because it's really easy for Ness to spam that. Remember back then when people thought Pikachu's Thunder was the worst move, because that really spammed? It made it impossible for some people to fight back. Well, I think Ness is the new Pikachu in that case, because I feel like they kind of balanced Pikachu out a bit, but Ness, he's... And for crying out loud, him and Lucas have like the most devastating final smashes. It's like one that you cannot avoid. It takes up the whole stage. I find it funny how there are some characters who, you know, it's like they're always stuck in the same final smash no matter what, and then there are those who have like a new one every single game, and you can tell like for the ones who have like a new final smash every time, they must be like Sakurai's favorites or something, because, I mean, you know, we have, of course, he's the creator of Kirby, so, of course, you'll want to give Kirby something new every time, well, with the exception of, well, unless you count the Wii U, 3DS, and Ultimate, but technically, you know, they wanted to recycle a lot from that game, but then again, even some characters who had Final Smashes in Wii U have very different ones in this game. Like Pit's an example. In the last game, he had the Sacred Treasures, now he has the Lightning Chariot. I personally liked the 3 Sacred Treasures a lot better. I wish they kept that. It feels like a total downgrade in this game. But, I mean, King Dedede, he's one who keeps getting better Final Smashes as the series went on, and meanwhile we still have ones who have very terrible Final Smashes like Peach and Daisy. I was very underwhelmed that they, like, I thought a good example of what they should have done with Peach was give her like a Final Smash like Toad Army or something, where she just summons a bunch of toads to stampede across the stage. But I guess it would have felt too similar to the Yoshi stampede, but oh well. It makes more sense than just her doing a strange dance that puts everyone to sleep. So this is actually the first stage I made in the game, Emerald Coast from Sonic Adventure. It's a little hard to see now, but at the very left you can see the whale that was chasing you. I originally tried making the whale animated. I wanted to make it look like it was jumping through the stage and, you know, like eating it up, but I couldn't get that to work, unfortunately, without having him be a background prop. And so the best I could do was just make him stationary. It looked like he was biting onto the dock. One thing I find ironic is that, I remember, like, during the big direct of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, where, like, they revealed, like, all the changes they made to the Final Smashes and stuff like that. I remember they said Sonic's was going to be a huge improvement over, like, the ones we saw in the past games, and honestly, I think it's a huge decline, because, yes, it's cool that he flies around the stage rapidly. The problem is that he has terrible range. There are certain areas that, like the very top and bottom of the screen that he can't quite reach, because he's like dashing in like little X shapes kind of, and diagonally, you know, so there's like a certain sweet spot in the center that he can't quite get, both top and bottom. So I liked how in, although it was hard to learn, I liked how in the 3DS, Wii U and even Brawl, how you could, control him and, you know, pick up speed without, and the best part was he wouldn't go off screen if you went too far. I loved that. I honestly missed that, because once you got used to that, it made you feel unstoppable. And now his final smash, it doesn't feel like an improvement like Sakurai claimed. It feels like a huge downgrade, honestly. Here's a stage someone made of KK Slider from Animal Crossing. I thought this turned out really well. Fortunately, I noticed like a pretty strange glitch in this well, like a strange clipping error that will occur, and you'll see it eventually, but I don't know how it got triggered, but it was very unfortunate. See, now how in the heck did that happen? I guess you really gotta be careful when making a stage, make sure, if there's a part of the stage you do not want to be like a grabbable ledge, make sure you highlight it and turn the edge grab off for that. That's something I kind of wish I knew ahead of time, but I didn't think it would really matter. I hate that when you do all the work in hitting the smash ball, then some CPU just randomly comes across and easily breaks it. It just pisses me off. I kind of wish Smash Ball was just a grab item. I remember Brawl, the first trailer really presented that that's how it was going to be. So I remember in the trailer it just showed Mario grabbing it and he all of a sudden had his Fireball final smash. So it really disappoints me how they never implemented that or made it even optional. I mean, it's kind of cool. I kind of like the idea of the smash meter in this game, but eventually it came to a point where I shut it off because it filled up way too quickly, and it was kind of. I kind of realized that it feels better when Final Smashes feel earned by chance instead of earned by just being handed to you over time. So then eventually it comes to a point where it just becomes a fest of everyone using Final Smash, and it kind of ruins the purpose of it. So here's a stage based off of the very first DS model. It surprises me how badly those things have aged. I remember like back in 2004 when I was I was still a kid and I really wanted a DS. I thought it looked so cool. It looked so advanced, so state of the art. And then eventually like you get like a 3DS and you look back at the old DS and you realize, wow, this is like an obsolete brick. I mean, it was so bulky, and the screens were surprisingly so tiny. It's like you look at the 3DS screen, those things are actually pretty big for a small handheld console. And then you look at the DS, it's like, were these always tiny? These are like a calculator screen. Holy cow. And then it's like you compare it to the Switch, where its screen is ginormous. Bowser's Castle. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Why has this never been an official stage in Smash Brothers? so perfect. The aesthetics, the drawbridge that you can destroy. I mean, the only thing that's missing is like a lava moat down below. Well, I mean, like one that actually looks like one, not just a burning platform. But then you would also have like the fire traps, the fireballs. I mean, come on, how come Bowser's Castle is never? What really infuriates me about Bowser's Castle never being a playable stage is how, in exchange, what Mario stages have we gotten? Just nothing but World 1s. It's like every stage that was a World 1 in a Mario game had to be playable in some form. And, you know, would it be more interesting if every level 1 Mario stage wasn't themed after the same thing, just like some kind of grassy terrain level? And, you know, I really wish they could have been more creative with stages. I mean, out of all the levels they could have made into a level 1, how come Bob-omb Battlefield was never one? I mean, yes, it's a grassy level technically, but at least it felt unique. It wasn't just like another level with a bunch of bricks, a bunch of, you know, abstract-looking hills and stuff like that in the background. You know, the same generic stuff modeled after Super Mario Bros. 1's first level. I mean, it had a lot of different stuff. I mean, I've even noticed a lot of stage builder stages are themed after Bob-omb Battlefield. It kind of shows that, yeah, a lot of people really wanted that stage playable, and it never did. I mean, it'd be perfect. You have, like, the chain chomp, the giant mountain with the rolling balls, the giant King Bob-omb, the cannons, the floating islands. I mean, there's just so much they could have done with Bob-omb Battlefield as a stage, and it's never been done. I mean, that's not the only Mario stage that could have really worked. I mean, there's a lot of levels based off Mario Galaxy, but instead they chose, once again, just to model it after the first level in that game. And even Mario Sunshine, it's like, what level did they pick to have that be represented, bro? The Hub World, which is technically the first level. And, it's like every stage based off the new Super Mario Bros. Games, the Mario 3D Land. They're all just, you know, World 1. It's like, how come we never got, like, Bowser's Castle? How come we never got, like, a Ghost House stage? It's just so disappointing. Same thing with Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm so disappointed that all the stages in that are somehow, like, themed after a Green Hill Zone thing. There are so many other Sonic stages I would have rather seen. I would have loved to have seen like a Sonic Adventure inspired level, like Emerald Coast, Twinkle Park. Nope, we have to have a Windy Hill Zone, which is basically just another Green Hill Zone. So here's the Spiral Mountain stage I made from Banjo-Kazooie. Unfortunately, I ran out of restrictions, so I wasn't able to properly make Gruntilda's head, like her hat in the tower. So it's like, let's just say that someone knocked over her hat. So. Now, it's like if Banjo-Kazooie were to be a stage, it looks like a lot of people would want Spiral Mountain to be the playable world. And I can't argue with that because it is such a memorable location. But it's like if it's not going to be Spiral Mountain, then what would be a good Banjo-Kazooie themed stage? And that's a tough one, but for like it definitely, for me, it'd have to be probably something like Click Clock Wood, Gobi's Valley, or Freeze Easy Peak. I mean, those are some of my favorite levels in the game. I'll tell you which one I bet a lot of people wouldn't want it to be, and it would probably be Rusty Bucket Bay or Grunty Industries from Banjo-Tooie. Now, it's like if Banjo-Kazooie were playable, what would their final smash be? That's a tough one, too. But, for me, I have two considerations. Number one would be Ginjonator, because that was, like, the ultimate way they defeated Gruntilda in the original game. Oh, that's a terrible, terrible look for Ridley. You just spawned at a tough point. So this is the stage based off the Chief Yoshi from, both Mario RPG and even, he made a return in Paper Mario, if I'm not mistaken, but... Okay, so, back to the Banjo-Kazooie Final Smash. Yeah, I think, Ginjonator would be an interesting concept for a Final Smash, because, you know, that was what Banjo-Kazooie summoned to defeat Gruntilda at the end of Banjo-Kazooie, and so it'd be kind of funny to see them, you know, summon the Ginginator to defeat, like, all the enemies on screen. And then, another would probably be the Big Daddy T-Rex from Banjo-Tooie, because that was, without a doubt, the most powerful, the most overpowered, you know, transformation in all the Banjo games, so... I would also consider the tank from Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge, but that wasn't a very good game, or a very well-known one for that matter, so but it's like, if there was like a proper 3D Banjo game where he did turn into the tank, then maybe that would have been more considered, but I doubt it. I personally would love to see a rare fighting game with like all these different rare icons, because, you know, another character from Rare I would love to see in Smash Bros. Besides Conker would be Cameo, because we don't really have any characters who have a moveset based off transformations necessarily, unless you consider Corrin or Kirby, but they're more limited. You know, I mean like a moveset where they actually transform, like each button causes them to quickly transform into something before reverting back to normal. I mean, that would be a really cool idea for a character. Who better than Cameo, because Cameo had the ability to transform into 10 different creatures, and so it's like, you know, it's like when basically controlling Cameo, it'd be her on foot, but then it's like when she gains full speed, you'd see like her wings pop out, and so she'll start floating in the air, and you know, her jumping would have it where she's like, she has like her wings and stuff like that. Her up smash could be like where she does the flip kick, but then it's like when you do like the basic smash attacks, you turn into Pummelweed and start rapidly punching. Her down special could be like where she turns into Chilla and starts pounding the ground, causes, you know, a bunch of icicles to come falling from the sky. Her up recovery would probably... I'm trying to think, what would be good for her up special? I'm guessing probably Flex. He could probably, like, stretch up and... well, no, Flex would actually probably be better as her grabs, because he was mostly known for grabbing things, so every time she uses a grab attack, it would make sense for her to turn to Flex, stretch out and grab people with his tentacles. So, it would be good for the up special. I don't know, maybe Pummelweed again, because he had, like, that uppercut attack. Unfortunately, the final version of Cameo did not have any flying kind of abilities. The original version of Cameo was supposed to have that, like back when it was supposed to be a GameCube game, and even an Xbox prototype, but unfortunately, when it got moved over to Xbox 360, they cut that out, so... In fact, there were supposed to be a lot of transformations in Cameo, and unfortunately, we were left with very little. Before I go on more about Cameo, I just want to say, so here is a stage based off of, what's it called? I can't remember the name of this. I want to say, I don't want to say Katamari, because, is it Katamari? Yeah, Katamari, that's it. I almost said Calamari, but, I've never played any of these games, but, I always loved the memes of it. Like, I remember there's a meme where it showed, like, what would happen if the world of Katamari met Pokemon, so we just see, the Prince character just collecting all the Pokemon by rolling them into a ball. I thought that was really funny. So back to Cameo, it's like, yeah, you know, there's just so much they could do with that character, with all her transformations and stuff like that. It's like, that's another reason why, the character Shanti from the Shanti series would make for an interesting character, because she had the ability to transform into different animals, and so there's a lot they could do with her, and I feel bad, I've never played a Shanti game before, but it looks interesting, though. I've seen some gameplay clips, I've seen some trailers, and I really want to get the one that's available on Switch right now, like the last one made, and I heard they're making a 5th one too, so eventually I'm going to have to come around and try getting that game, because I do think it looks very fun and creative. But, although I barely know anything about the character, I'm actually rooting for her to be in Smash, because I know a lot of people want her to be in it, and you know, I look at her and I see her as a character who has potential. I don't see her as another clone character. You know, I'm able to see, like, gameplay clips, and I can agree, yeah, she would make a fun character to play as. I mean, I still find it sad that Shovel Knight wasn't playable. I've never played a Shovel Knight game in my life, unless you count Ukulele with his cameo appearance. But, You know, from what I've seen though, he looked like he didn't look like just another sword but he didn't look like just another sword user. He actually had some very unique abilities he could use with his shovel. Like a lot of people compared his gameplay to like Scrooge McDuck's gameplay in the original DuckTales video game, and it was like how he was able to pogo around just by hopping on his shovel, kind of like how Scrooge was able to hop on his cane. So yeah, Shovel Knight would have been interesting, but he was reduced to an assist trophy. And man, if we had a nickel for every assist trophy, that would have been better off as a playable character, like Knuckles, Lyn. Yes, I know I have said that Fire Emblem characters have been overused, but I still want Lyn to be in the game though, just because I thought it was a shame that she wasn't even playable to begin with in Brawl. Instead, we had, you know, I would have taken her over Marth any day. Marth had his chance in Melee, and heck, so many people didn't even want Marth back to begin with. Everyone loved Roy, and so it kind of annoyed me how every Smash Bros. Game only brought back Marth, but not Roy until he was a DLC fighter in Brawl. Well, I mean, the Wii U and 3DS version. So here's the final stage I'll have to show for this video, and that's a stage based off the Bryan Star Depths boss fight against Kraid. I mean, it's an interesting stage, but darn it, it's too bad it's too bad some of the creators of these stages don't realize they can shut the rails off, like when making those trails for moving platforms. Because, yeah, it kind of ruins the visual appeal of some stages when you see those rails visible. Otherwise, like, this is a pretty creative stage. It really does kind of feel like a proper recreation of, you know, the original boss fight. Both with Kraid's size and him shooting out those spikes from his belly. Even if they are slow as heck, but... Yeah, unfortunately, you're not given very many speed options, when it comes to making, like, the movement speeds for, like, the stage props and all that. You know what I think would be a really great improvement of Stage Builder? One that allows us to actually take props from actual stages and mix them around. I mean, that would be the best version of Stage Builder. So, like, imagine if you were able to take the 3D model of Wispy Woods from, you know, the green stage of from Melee, and if you were able to just drop him into a completely different background, like an F-Zero racetrack or Green Hill Zone from Sonic, you know, just make like these random hybrid stages with actual props that you can unlock based off other stages. Or, you know, it's like one of the stage props could be like the Shy Guy Racers from Mario Kart. Like, imagine how many possibilities they could have made if they had like a stage builder like that. That'd be so much fun. I would pay extra just to get features like that. That's like, those are features I could understand would take time to complete. Same thing, another feature I really wanted in this game that, darn it, we never got was custom costume maker. Like, I can understand we're probably never going to get one where we actually get unlockable parts to dress the characters up as, although that would be nice. I would so much rather dress up the actual characters than those stupid Miis, but the least I was expecting was a color palette swapper. You know, it's like, you can change the primary colors of the characters' outfits. So that would have been really cool. So, it's like, you know, it's like you have Mario, and you'd see, like two different colors to choose from. One red, one blue. So it's like, you know, you can change the color of his hat and shirt and the color of his overalls. And, you know, you could have then chose from, like, a color grid and choose, like, which colors you want to replace it with. Same thing with, like, characters like, Bowser. You can change the color of his, scales, his shell, his spikes, and then, for, like, Peach, you know, her hair, her dress, her shoes, and because there are so many alternate costumes in this game that are actually really disappointing, and so it's like, I would have chose a slightly different shade of blue for this character, but unfortunately, we're not able to do that. Well, that's all I have to show for now. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.